attention grid. Will all non-essential personnel leave the grid now?
Okay, welcome back. So you join us for race number 2. We're on the formation lap after Lewis Manley had a masterful drive in race number 1 to take the victory. Adam Christopher in second place, Ben Bennyworth P3, Chris Wilson P4, Aidan Carter P5, John Dean Smith P6, Ben Chris P7, Dales Chris P8, Stuart Pringle P9, Dan McCalla P10, Josh Vincent P11, Charlie Keir P12 and Gareth Boyle in P13. So, can Lewis keep up this dominance? He was using the soft tyre in race number 1, so let's see how he does now with the harder tyre. His performance seemed very strong on that soft tyre, so it'll be very interesting to see how he manages the hards with the lower operating temperatures. Take a little bit longer to get up and running, but with Lewis's driving style, I think he's going to be able to get those up and running relatively quickly. Just coming through the final corner and lining up onto the start-finish straight. You can see our top 2 there, just getting themselves into position. So, race 1 just had a few incidents here and there. Not a huge amount in the way of overtaking, but a few incidents here and there regarding some of the drivers such as Gareth Boyle and Dale Crisp. But however, we move on from that and we go into race number 2 now. So, getting ready to watch the lights for the start. So Lewis Manley there, pole position after winning race number 1. Can he continue the dominance? Here we go. As we go on to lap 1 of 15, and I saw a jump start there for Ben Crisp a bit further back in the field. Chris Wilson already along the outside of Ben Bennyworth and gets 3rd place instantly at turn 1. What a start for Chris Wilson. As I can see, it looks like the Toyota of Josh Vincent is off in the background, and I can see John Dean Smith also at the inside of Ben Bennyworth. Ben Bennyworth losing 2 positions on 1 lap, already dropping from P3 to P5 as we watch Lewis Manley pulling away, and now Chris Wilson up the inside of Adam Christopher and into 2nd place. What a first lap for Chris Wilson. He's up to P2 already. Absolutely stonking performance, as we see John Dean Smith and Ben Bennyworth all over each other as well, coming into the chicane. Ben Bennyworth's up the inside, hard on the brakes to defend the position and keep and hold it from John Dean Smith. Just behind them we have Aidan Carter and Dale Crisp coming into blows as well. Aidan's going to be watching the cars in front and hoping to stick with them after the tyre temperature issues in race number 1, as we watch John Dean Smith now lining up Ben Bennyworth and going for another go into the final sector of the lap. Can he get it done? Can he get the move done in the final corner? Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? If he doesn't get it done in the final corner, he might have a really good chance at turn 1, as we see Aidan Carter's getting involved in this battle as well. Got a few people off in the final corner, out braking themselves, as we see John Dean Smith all over the rear end of Ben Bennyworth. He's looking at the outside. He's going to try it around the outside. No, thinks better of it, although he's going to have a hell of a run coming into the long left-hander. And meanwhile, Chris Wilson is going around the outside of Lewis Manley for the lead. Chris Wilson takes the lead very briefly, and Lewis Manley does take it back as John Dean Smith and Ben Bennyworth continue to battle as well. And Chris Wilson looking at the outside now for the lead. Absolutely incredible first couple of laps for Chris Wilson. And look at the pace he's got. He's absolutely flying. He's going around the outside, having a look. Can he get later on the brakes to Manley? Manley pit manoeuvres him into the barrier. That gets Adam Christopher into the lead. I personally think that's fully on Lewis Manley there. Unfortunately, he did not give Chris any space. Now, obviously, you're not entitled to go around the outside, but I feel like he could have been given a bit more room there. Unfortunate there for Chris Wilson. That does put Adam Christopher into the lead of the race. So Adam Christopher leads, and now he's got a 2-second gap to P2. What a performance. And Aidan Carter is now in 3rd place. He's absolutely loving what he's seen. Stuart Pringle up to P4. Charlie Keir in P5, who's all over the front of Stuart Pringle. Apologies for the loss of my voice there. But it's not technical issues, it's vocal problems. Okay, so Adam Christopher sets a new fastest lap of the race, 1:27.593. What a second lap. Little frustrating there for Chris Wilson. Luckily for him, he has got going again in P10, but lost so much time. What a first couple of laps. I guess his biggest hope now is to get that reverse grid pole, see where he goes from there. But that was quite a controversial move there around the outside. I would argue he wasn't really given the space he was owed, but we will see what happens from there. Stewards will definitely take a look at that, as it was a very, very aggressive move. Got another yellow in sector 1. So we still see this battle raging on. John Dean Smith now in P6. So the gap is also coming down for the leaders as Chris Wilson puts in a purple first sector with 33.0. He is flying out there. I feel like if he'd have gotten the lead, he would have just driven off into the distance. Absolutely electrifying pace as Aidan Carter puts in a purple middle sector as well to continue to put pressure on the top 3. So a much better race so far for Aidan Carter than race number 1. And look at this, Charlie Keir all over the back here of Stuart Pringle, looking to go round the outside of the Honda Civic. No, he does it too late, and then the crisp goes into him, causes another issue with multiple cars, which means John Dean Smith is going to go up some more positions. And now Stuart Pringle's got a really nice buffer behind him, where he's going to have all these cars behind, so he's going to have quite a nice little stopgap. Definitely a lot of incidents for the stewards to look at so far. Chris Wilson about to put in an absolutely ridiculously stonking lap time, although he doesn't have the best final sector. He is now back in play a little bit with all these crashes going on in front of him. So he's up to P9 now. He's just got in front of Ben Bennyworth, who's just come to blows. John Dean Smith now all the way down to up to P5. That's Dan McCalla there, sorry, in the other Napa car. Only used to one Napa car, so good job Dan McCalla getting up to P11 so far, holding place. Nice strong visit to the touring car round so far, considering it's the first time he's done it in over a year. So looking at Adam Christopher in the lead, that gap staying at 1.9 seconds. Aidan Carter staying a good 1.6, 7/10 of a second behind them. Both putting in some very, very tasty sector times though. I feel like they're going to both start to bring in the gap to Adam Christopher. Stuart Pringle is also really fast out there. Some very, very quick lap times being set at the moment by by all drivers, to be honest. So some very, very quick times. So just having a look at who's on soft tyres in this race. So Chris Wilson, unsurprisingly, is on soft tyres. Dale Crisp is on soft tyres, and also Gareth Boyle is on soft tyres. So any extra performance that we see from them could be explained a little bit by those soft tyres, but Chris Wilson setting the fastest lap of the race. We now have a look at our top three. So we've got Aidan Carter starting to hunt down Lewis Manley there, but we also have Dale Crisp and Ben Bennyworth quite close together. This is a battle for P9 back here, trying to see if Dale Crisp can improve his race so far. Looking at the outside of Ben Bennyworth there now to try and get the cutback. Can't really get it done, doesn't really gain any ground on Bennyworth there. We'll try and follow through to try and get a better position, but we'll see what happens from there. So we see Dale coming through the chicane, following Bennyworth, making a little bit of ground, it must be said, but Ben Bennyworth really struggling in this phase of the race. Did get caught up in that early incident, so he is running a lot lower than he really should be. And Gareth Boyle is also putting in some very, very nice sector times at the moment as well. Chris Wilson recovers up to P8 so far, so a great job from him so far, as we see Gareth Boyle in P6, who's also having a really nice race, a much better race than race 1. Must be said, Stuart Pringle doing a fantastic job in P4 as well. Got a nice gap now after all that chaos gets off behind him, but now we're going to look ahead because we've got a 0.2 of a second gap between Lewis Manley and Aidan Carter. We can see them here coming into the start of the second sector as we go into the island hairpin. Really late on the brakes. Lewis is keeping the inside covered there, so Aidan's going to have to think really intelligently to get this move done. Lewis, not the easiest driver to overtake, and Oulton Park, not the easiest track to overtake on, but he's up the inside there. Don't think he's going to get it done from that far back, but just reminding Lewis that he is there, putting that pressure onto Manley. So, can Aidan Carter turn this weekend around from race 1 being quite an unusually poor showing from him, mostly due to those tyre temperatures, but this race it looks like he's got that nailed now and got a really good pace going on. Obviously Lewis's tyres aren't going to be in the best shape after that spin as well. We've also got Chris Wilson looking all over the back of Charlie Keir to get P7, so I'll keep an eye on that and we'll swap to that if that gets tasty, because that is starting to hotten up as well, as we see Aidan Carter looking up the inside for turn number 1. Lewis has left him the room on the outside, he's going to have to stay there. Up the inside for P2 goes Aidan Carter. Now can Aidan get to the leader, Adam Christopher? And then we've got Chris Wilson and Charlie Keir side by side as well, going across the line. It's happening all over the place in this race. Round the outside for Chris. Can he get it done? No, but he's going to go right up the inside on the exit of the corner. Look at the run he got there through there. Those soft tyres proving to be absolutely key today. Brilliant move there from Chris Wilson. Brilliant drive from the both of them. They were side by side for pretty much the full final sector of the lap. Amazing job for them to not come into each other. And great mental strength from Chris Wilson as well to just get his head down and just get on with it after that incident earlier on in the race. So our new big story is, can Aidan Carter close the gap to Adam Christopher? He lost a little bit of time on that last lap to Adam, it must be said. Adam starting to find some really nice pace in this car, although Aidan puts in a purple middle sector, a 28.3, which is an absolutely stonking middle sector, faster than anyone else who's got anywhere near. That's half a second faster than Adam Christopher, bringing that gap down to 1.3 seconds from 1.8 seconds. So this is still anybody's game. As we keep on watching Aidan Carter, we'll keep an eye on other movers around the grid. We've also got Dale Crisp, who is starting to make inroads on Ben Bennyworth, still stuck behind Ben Bennyworth, it must be said. Fastest lap of a 1 minute 24.851 by Aidan Carter. Aidan has definitely found what they were looking for in this race. So Aidan, I think, using the soft tyres in this one. No, not using those till race 3, so absolutely making use of those hard tyres. Finally, maybe just finding what they need to do to get those tyres up to temperature to be really competitive with the rest of the field. Dale Crisp has dropped, is still putting all that pressure onto Ben Bennyworth as well, not giving up on this position, looking at the outside for the hairpin. tries to go side by side. He's going to be last at the late breakers. Bennyworth gives him lots of space around the outside, but holds a nice tight line, which is going to make it very, very difficult for Bennyworth to be able to, for Dale to be able to overtake and get that move done. The gap to the lead is now just 0.6 of a second. We've got Aidan Carter all over the back of Adam Christopher, because Adam Christopher's just gone off as well. So going into the final sector of the race, they are neck and neck, coming down the hill and back up again onto the start-finish straight, going across the line. What can Aidan Carter do? Is Aidan just going to send it up the inside? Going to be a bit more patient, work your way towards getting that move done. We know that Aidan can overtake round here. Did it on Manley. Manley was very, very kind to Aidan going into turn one. It must be said. Basically just gave him the position, almost. But yeah, on that last lap, the only driver in the 124s was Aidan Carter. So absolutely flying performance from Aidan there. And I can confirm there's an investigation into Chris Wilson and Lewis Manley, Dale Crisp, Charlie Keir, and the rest of the grid. So there's a lot going on at the moment, and it looks like Charlie Keir has just lost some positions there. He's dropped behind both Bennyworth and Dale there as well, so we'll keep an eye on that, see if that hottens up as well. But our battle for the lead looks like it's really about to get spicy now. We've got Aidan Carter really, really confident with this car now, really giving it absolutely everything in this second sector. Going to start to look around for any sort of potential overtaking opportunities. Adam Christopher is such a difficult driver to overtake, however. Puts his car in the right place at all times. Very, very clean driver, but puts his car in the right place at all times as Aidan starts to look at the outside. He's going to get a hell of a run up the inside here, but Adam covers it off beautifully, makes his move very clear, very crystal clear, very fair. So Aidan's going to look to the outside here, going to see if he can make it that move round the long way round the corner. Can't get it done, so continues to follow on, and I'm still watching Ben Bennyworth holding off Dale Crisp behind as well. So action going on all over the field at the moment, but this battle for the lead is key. And look at this run that Aidan Carter's got now. He's looking at the outside, going into the hairpin. If he can break later than Adam, we'll see up the round the outside. Beautiful move from Aidan Carter there. That looked almost easy from the BMW driver there. As we also have a look now, look at this round the outside as well. Dale Crisp and Ben Bennyworth. Ben runs Dale out wide. They're going to be side by side going down the straight into the hairpin. We're going to see who outbreaks who into the hairpin. Round the outside for Ben Bennyworth, looks to hold a position, but Dale Crisp takes that place. Really great move, really opportune overtake there. Now John Dean Smith is also now right on the rear of Stuart Pringle. Just when you think this race is about to simmer down, it just cooks something else right back up again. So here we go, John Dean Smith all over the back of Stuart Pringle, looking into that final sector as we coming through the long right-hander. We come down the hill now, and then we're going to have the really slow speed final corner. You've got to really get the brake in just right for this. You carry the speed nice and calmly. Just got to wait for those mistakes in front from Stuart. Got to put that pressure on to try and get a mistake from Stuart. He's also bringing Gareth Boyle and Chris Wilson with him as well. So all of this group starting to get closer together, really start to push really hard and getting towards the front. So John D. Smith just looking all over the back here of Stuart Pringle, and it must be said, Stuart putting the car in the right places so far, and to be honest, if anything, pulled a little bit away on this lap. Look at that under braking though. John gains so much time, but he's lost so much. He goes so deep into the corner. That's going to almost give Gareth a bit of a sniff of P5. So you need to be careful here, because if you start making moves that are just going to cost you time, if you start making moves and try and overtake at every single corner, you're just going to lose time, you're going to go backwards. Then the car behind you is going to have a perfect opportunity to get in front. And we've already seen the pace of Chris Wilson earlier in this race. He's maintaining a very good pace as well. The second fastest driver on the circuit at the moment is Chris Wilson, so what could have been if he got into the lead on lap 2. I really feel for him. I feel like that is a massive missed opportunity there for Chris Wilson. Really still keeping those soft tyres in a beautiful range as Aidan Carter puts in a 124.1. Absolutely smashing the circuit at the moment. Is this Aidan Carter or is this Colin Turkington? I'm not too sure. They're both just about as quick as each other. So, moving onto lap 12 out of 15. We still have John Dean Smith, and we're starting to see a little bit of a train forming behind Stuart Pringle. So John's going to want to get this done nice and quickly before Gareth and Chris get to his rear as well. Gareth Boyle on soft tyres, Chris Wilson on soft tyres. John Dean Smith, I believe, is on the hard tyres for this race, so he will have a bit of a tyre disadvantage as Stuart runs a little bit wide. However, that's again pushed John further into the clutches of Gareth. Chris is also looking to make an opportune moment of this as we're coming into the chicane. Just as you can see, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, right there, all in one picture. Who says touring car racing isn't close? As we get Gareth Boyle getting a little bit skittish there, so he's going to have to be careful as well for Chris then making moves. This is really starting to heat up as we get into the final portion of this race. Drivers really wanting to get as many points from this as absolutely possible. Just want to put a quick note out there. Dan McCalla in his first race of 2024, well 2023, 2024, SRBC is in P10, so great performance from Dan there, really strong, just keeping the car, made a few positions, and just keeping the car on the great stuff, what you need to do to be successful around here. So we're coming up to just 3 laps to go now, and it must be said, Stuart has started to eke away from John once again. That previous lap with Gareth and Chris coming into play is also giving him a little bit of breathing room as well, because they're starting to look at each other more than they're starting to look at the cars in front. I feel like they all need to work together, try and get their moves done one at a time. Like, if you're all trying to battle each other, it's up the inside. John tries it. I feel that's way too late. Chris goes up the inside of Gareth Boyle there, and Chris is going to get 2. He's going to get loads in one go. He's going to get back up to P5. What a move there. John really triggering things off there. I think that's going to be looked at by the stewards, because that definitely caused a mass change in this race. We're now seeing huge position changes as Chris Wilson now is P4, Stuart Pringle P5, John Dean Smith P6, and Gareth Boyle losing a spot down to P7 now. So really, really disadvantaging Stuart and Gareth there, and John himself has lost the position from all of that as well. Whew. Maybe we could take a little bit of a deep breath as we come into the final few laps of the race. Just so you know that Aidan is still in this race, just done a 1 minute 25.3, extending the lead to 7.2 seconds. Adam Christopher to P2, Lewis Manley P3, 1.6 seconds off the back of Adam. So we stick with this for now as we see Chris Wilson starting to pull away. Once again, we're seeing a battle between John Dean Smith and between Stuart Pringle. So I didn't really get a great look at the first initial take. I'm not too sure if it was a case of John just being out braking himself or if the door was open. To me it looked like a very, very late lunge. Not too sure if I saw any change of direction from Stuart. It looked all quite crystal clear, but round the outside this time for John. That's way too deep though, and into the barrier for John Dean Smith, who's now going to go way down the order. Gareth Boyle has also made a mistake somewhere and has dropped to P9. John recovers and just recovers behind Dale Crisp there, so loses 1 position. And he's looking around the outside straight away on Dale, well, up the inside straight away on Dale Crisp. Out breaks Dale, up the inside, and they come together as well. That's 2 incidents in 2 laps for John Dean Smith with another car, and his 3rd incident in 2 laps in terms of having an off as he looks to rejoin the circuit safely, waiting for the car to go past. So smart driving there from John, just waiting for the car to come past. It's very easy to get very frustrated and just go. So very good for him to not just do that. With that, that has extended pretty much all the gaps out on the circuit. So let's enjoy this final lap of the race with our race leader, Aidan Carter, with now an 8.5 second lead to Adam Christopher. 8.5 seconds. We didn't think he would be this impressive today, because all of the tyre temperature issues that Aiden was facing was really affecting their race performance, their race pace. So very impressive drive from Aiden Carter, and Adam Christopher, must be said, very fair with Aiden. Gave Aiden room to make that move possible. We're coming into the final sector now. Lewis Manley is actually closed right up onto the back of Adam Christopher on this final lap, so we'll keep an eye on that once Aiden crosses line. We'll see if that gets spicy on the final lap. As Aiden coming in now to the final corner, hits the apex beautifully, runs out nice and wide, and it is a victory in race number 2 for Aiden Carter, coming across the line. Brilliant job, well done, plaudits all around. And now we see Adam Christopher taking P2, Lewis Manley coming across the line in 3rd place. Chris Wilson with the comeback drive coming through the final corner, down the dip. Unfortunate race for Chris. Could have been a lot more, I think. I think we could have seen either a P2, potentially even a chance at victory here, but it is what it is. Chris Wilson will be very happy to return to P4. Stuart Pringle is going to cross the line, has crossed the line in P5. Ben Bennyworth holds off Dale Chris to the line to get to P6, overtakes Dale Chris on the final lap from the looks of it. So that's another position change on the last lap. Gareth Boyle is going to cross the line in P8. And does so, and then we have Dan McCalla, P9, across the line. Great job ahead of the other Napa ridden livery of John Dean Smith. Then finally we have, well, not finally, we've got Charlie here slowly crossing the line now, and then after that we will have Ben Crisp, and then another 28 seconds down the road for Josh Vincent, who was off on the first lap. And everybody can now breathe. That was a very, very exciting race there. I lost my voice quite a few times in that one. I really hope you all enjoyed watching that one at home. Very glad we were able to get the stream up and running for that race, because that was 100% worth it. As you see your race results on the screen now, Aiden Carter taking the victory, Adam Christopher P2, Lewis Manley P3, Chris Wilson P4, Stuart Pringle P5, Ben Bennyworth P6, Dale Chris P7, Gareth Boyle P8, Dan McCalla P9, and John Dean Smith rounding out the top 10. What a race. We will let you know of the race free draw very shortly, but well done to all of our drivers in that race. I think there may be some stewards decisions to be made, so we'll see how those go. We'll keep you updated with those when we go into our coverage for race number 3, but please do stay tuned. Looks like the stream is running nice and smoothly now, so it looks like we're all good. Looks like all those little bugbears are all gone, fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll be able to continue this coverage through into race number 3. But please do stay tuned with us. We'll be back very, very soon. Okay, drivers. So, well, sorry, drivers, not drivers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in for race 3. Thank you very much for your patience throughout the whole day with us today. Now see our starting grid for the final race of the day, and it was Dale Crisp that pulled out the pole position. Well, got picked by the random number picker to be on pole position, so Dale Crisp gets their first ever pole position, I believe I'm right in saying, in the Simply Race British Championship. So after race 2, I don't even want to start to predict how exciting race 3 could be. We're going to keep an eye on it, we're going to see what happens, but we've got the formation lap to come. So just going to run you through the starting order now. We've got Dale Crisp, who's starting on pole position, Stuart Pringle starting in 2nd place, Gareth Boyle starting in 3rd place, Ben Bennyworth in 4th, Chris Wilson in 5th, Lewis Manley in 6th, Adam Christopher in 7th, Aidan Carter in 8th place, Dan McCalla in 9th, John Dean Smith in 10th, Charlie Keir in 11th, Ben Crisp in 12th, and Josh Vincent 13th. So Aidan Carter was accidentally allocated the incorrect tyre in race number 2. So instead of being on the hards, the software decided to randomly allocate Aidan with the softs, which explains a lot of the pace. So instead of using the softs in this race, that is now going to be used as Aidan's race allocation. Aidan was very happy about this. He won the race, so he was pretty accepting of that. But yes, just to explain some of the epic pace that Aidan had in race number 2, although Aidan is a very, 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 very fast driver anyway, so potentially would have been in the running even so. So it should be a very exciting race, this one. We've had a lot going on. Oh, and continuing through the order, apologies, so we then have Dan McCalla in P9, John Dean Smith P10, Charlie Keir P11, Ben Crisp P12, and Josh Vincent in P13. Just going to go through which drivers are running soft tyres for this one. So, soft tyres for race number 3 is Ben Crisp, Charlie Keir, Stuart Pringle, Dan McCalla, and Josh Vincent. Should be interesting to see how those tyres help those drivers. Oh, and also Adam Christopher on the soft tyres. So I personally think we're going to see a very, very strong charge from Adam Christopher early in this race then, trying to make as many positions as quickly as possible, although a lot of the cars in front of Adam are on softs as well, so it'll be interesting to see how far up the grid he can get before it starts to become a little bit of a struggle. Chris Wilson will be looking to have a better race, determined to be the driver at fault in the incident on lap 2 in race number 2, turning into Lewis Manley, causing the incident which dropped him all the way down the order, but then recovered to P4, but we'll be looking for a little bit more in this race. As our drivers start to make their way to the grid, Dale Crisp is lined up at the front, and Josh Vincent is just coming around the rear and getting into his slot now. So very soon we're going to start to see the lights lighten up. Well, we can't physically see them, but the lights will come on. We'll get ready for the start. Long hold today from the start, and looks like we're getting ready to go. And 3, 2, 1. Off we go, and that's the start of the race, and an awful start for Dale Crisp. Barely goes anywhere at all. Drops right down the order straight away down to P6, which puts Stuart Pringle straight into the lead going into turn 1. Adam Christopher is off the road at turn 1, and Aidan Carter gets spun around on the exit of turn 1. It's happened immediately to Aidan. Another reverse grid race curse, and Adam Christopher is off, and Gareth Boyle is off as well. Several cars off all over the place. There's carnage everywhere as Stuart Pringle is going to start to just pull away for a nice early lead. So Pringle leads, followed by Bennyworth, Manley, Wilson, with Lewis having a great start there, getting in front of Chris instantly, very quickly, and Dale having the worst start possibly hoped for, dropping all the way down the order to 5, although we'll be very happy to have missed all of that carnage. So we currently have Stuart Pringle P1, Ben Bennyworth P2, Lewis Manley P3, Chris Wilson P4. Lots and lots of chaos still going on at the back. So at the back, Adam Christopher is in P11 and Aidan Carter in P10 after their offs on lap 1. Dale Crisp and Josh Vincent have also been involved in a few offs as well, which has dropped them right down the order to 12th and 13th. Does mean we have Dan McCalla in P7 on his first round in the touring cars this season. Should be a nice handy show from him. He'll want to definitely keep the car around that sort of area, but he does have a very, very hungry John Dean Smith behind him, who's definitely going to want to make some inroads into that. Half a second gap between Ben Bennyworth and Lewis Manley for P2, and then just another 6 tenths there until we get to Chris Wilson. Adam Christopher deciding, that's it, I'm putting the hammer down, putting in 2 purple sectors for Sector 2 and Sector 3 on that lap. Does a 146.7, so losing about 14 seconds off of the leaders. However, very, very quick Sector 2 and 3, which has already clawed back some of that time already. Aidan will probably hope to just follow Adam here as closely as possible, as we have Dan McCalla now has been overtaken by John D. Smith. Looks like Dan left the room, although it does look like Dan's looking up the inside for the chicane. No, thinks better of it. That would have been a bit of a dive, as we see Chris Wilson as well here in P4. Lewis Manley starting to look all over the rear of Ben Bennyworth coming into the final sector. Ben Bennyworth are going to put on a staunch defence through the final sector of the track, and it looks like Dale Crisp has just made another mistake and dropped down to P12 now. Adam Christopher puts in a purple first sector and a purple middle sector. Absolutely flying is Adam, already pulled 2 seconds ahead of Aidan Carter on this lap alone. So we'll be looking for that comeback to get in front of the cars in front. One of which being Gareth, who has got the soft tyres. Stuart Pringle sets the fastest lap of the race on lap number 2, pulling out a 2-second lead to Ben Bennyworth in P2. There's a little bit of a train starting to form behind Ben Bennyworth though, as we see Lewis Manley starting to have a look up the outside going into the hairpin. It's got a hell of a run. It's going to be ran quite wide there by Ben Bennyworth, which is going to get Chris Wilson up the inside, and then right into him goes Ben Crisp, spearing into Lewis Manley, which is going to drop Crisp all the way down. That was a bit of an opportune move there from Ben Crisp. I don't think that was ever really going to work. Unfortunately, it's cost him more than anyone else. But Lewis Manley also losing a spot there as John D. Smith goes around the outside of Ben Crisp as well to steal P5. Dan McCalla will probably want to do similar. Can Dan follow through and get in front of Ben Crisp here? So your race order is currently Stuart Pringle, Ben Bennyworth, Chris Wilson, Lewis Manley. But that's going to change quite soon from the looks of it. Lots of things starting to heat up as we have Mr. Crisp all over the back of John Dean Smith. Definitely not wanting to lose that position and wanting to get that position back once again. Lots of drivers here really pushing tooth and nail. Adam Christopher has overtaken Gareth Boyle on this lap and goes up to P9. Great moves by Adam Christopher early in this race. Aidan not really making any inroads, still around P11, which is not ideal for Aidan in terms of the championship. This could be a very defining round for Aidan. Croft tends to be a very strong round for rear-wheel drive cars, however, so we will definitely see how Aidan gets on there. Still a long way to go, and we saw a lot of drivers in race number 2 come from the back all the way up to the front once more, so we'll see if Aidan can do that as well. Stuart Pringle pulling out a 2.5 second lead and just continuously pulling away now, doing a great job out front. Not really feeling the pressure from anybody at the moment, just driving his own race, which is really, it must be said, the way you want to do it. Battle for P2 is still about the same as it was. In fact, Ben Bennyworth pulled a little bit ahead of Chris Wilson there. And then it's our raging battle for P5, 5, 6 and 7. And Charlie Keir's getting involved now as well, looking all over the back of Dan McCalla, as Dale Crisp and Josh Vincent are having a lot of fun for 12th and 13th position. Loads and loads of action going on all around the circuit here. So we'll try and keep an eye on as much of it as possible for you, keep you updated on any overtakes and moves. Looking at Dan McCalla here, really looking to put this pressure on to Ben Crisp here in the number 10 Ford Focus up the inside for Dan McCalla. That was a very late defensive mover there for Ben. I feel like that's just a little bit too late for Ben there, which is definitely going to give Dan the move. It unsettles Ben, but he does have the inside for this corner, and Dan runs way too wide and goes into the barrier. Unfortunate for Dan. We now have Adam Christopher all over the rear of Charlie Keir. Going to look up the inside of the hairpin. No, that'll be a bit of a dive bomb there. So we're going to see what sort of overrun that Adam can get. How high up in this field can Adam Christopher go? Adam looking up the inside now, coming into the chicane. Thinking better of it, going to have to find the right places to make these moves with those soft tyres. If you make the moves too early, you're probably just going to end up in an incident. Really strong performances from lots of drivers today. Some very up and down weekends for some drivers too. Lewis would definitely not want to be in P4 right now, but he has had a good day in terms of the championship. Will continue to extend that lead to Aidan Carter. And with Adam Christopher not really being in the championship, that, if any points that Adam could take away, is just going to help Lewis even more so as Adam goes up the inside into the final corner of Charlie Keir. Beautifully executed. Charlie giving the space, but looking to get a bit of an overrun, seeing what Charlie can do with that. But no, it looks like Adam Christopher has got that pretty nailed down. We now go up to the battle for third. It is Lewis Manley versus Chris Wilson. Now this definitely going to be some sort of feelings between this, because they did come together in race number 2. Was deemed to be a racing incident of such, but it was more Chris's fault, turning into Lewis Manley and basically taking himself out, so no penalty required there because he lost so much time. So we see Lewis Manley looking all over the rear end of Chris's Vauxhall. Chris is a very staunch defender though, so it's going to be quite tough for Lewis to be able to make this move, although we have seen Lewis pull off some absolutely epic overtakes in the past. So if anyone can get past Chris Wilson, it is definitely Lewis Manley. Starting to heat up beautifully as well between Adam Christopher and the two cars in front, Ben Crisp and John Dean Smith. Ben starts to put in a really tidy pace now, really looking all over the back of John Dean Smith, seeing any opportunities that he can make before Adam Christopher on those soft tyres gets closer to him. And Lewis Manley now looking for a move. It's really closed up at the front here as Chris Wilson is also looking right up the inside to potentially get the lead, to get P2 from Ben Bennyworth. So this is for P2 here. Lewis losing a little bit of time there at that final corner. Coming into turn number 1, Ben Bennyworth holds the inside nicely. We're now seeing Adam Christopher looking like he's just following through. Look like there's some moves about to be made, and there was a move made because Ben Crisp is now in front of John Dean Smith, and also Adam Christopher is in front of John Dean Smith. So twisting and turning all over the place at the moment. Charlie Keir now right on the back of John Dean Smith as well. Been a bit of an up and down day for John. Some mistakes, some driving errors, and now a little bit of a nudge from Charlie Keir just to top it all off. Lewis Manley starting to put the pressure on once again onto Chris Wilson, bring that gap down to just 4 tenths of a second. Adam Christopher is only 2 tenths of a second behind Ben Crisp, and now be for P5. And Ben running very wide there. That's going to give Adam a hell of a run, but it's going to be quite tough to get through on the really high speed section of the circuit. But with a run like that Adam's got, it looks like he does. Oh, and they come together, and that pit maneuvers Adam off and flips him over. John Dean Smith is also collected in that as Adam barrel rolls down the back straight and drops all the way down to P8. He's going to come and rejoin round P10 from the looks of it. Aidan Carter up to P8 from that. Gareth Boyle up to P9. But that takes a lot of the pressure off of the front runners there. While fastest soft runner in this race has just been wiped out in a massive incident on the back straight. In real life would definitely be out of the race, but luckily for this, in sim racing gets to keep going. And look at this, Lewis Manley looking all over the rear end of Chris Wilson once again. Got a hell of a run coming through the left-hander as we go into the hairpin. Nice straight on the lakeside now. Lewis is going to have to get the car up the inside. I think it's a bit too far back this time around, but definitely starting to put that pressure on to Chris. So Adam Christopher dropping all the way down to P13, unfortunately. So last place in the race itself. Not going to be very happy with that result. Definitely going to be some stewards' inquiries for this event, I believe. There definitely seems to be a bit of contact between the two of them. It was a very tricky manoeuvre to pull, but it looked like Adam was ahead when that contact was made. I'm not sure if he pulled across too soon or if Ben went into him. I have a feeling that Adam may have just pulled across that a little bit too soon, just caused the two to collect. Lewis Manley looking very, very, very hungry here, going into the final corner, looking all over the back of Chris Wilson, who's also being held up by Ben Bennyworth. This has given Stuart Pringle a 6.7 second lead, absolutely pulling away at the front of this race. Almost the Max Verstappen performance from Stuart Pringle. A great drive from Stuart today, must be said. Some really good driving from Stuart today. Been very strong throughout the day in terms of race pace. So, looking at Chris Wilson here in third. How long can Chris Wilson hold off Lewis Manley? And can he hold off Lewis Manley is probably the better question. And can Ben Bennyworth hold them both off as well? Because it's really starting to look like it's actually getting closer between Ben and Chris. So if Chris can get right up the rear there of Bennyworth, then potential second place is on the cards here for Chris Wilson. Definitely would make him feel a lot better after race number 2. Probably doesn't want to have 2 fourth places in a row. Sounds like we've got a little bit of drama going on in sector 1. I can hear a little bit of shouting in the room. Adam Christopher has retired from the race. I think he's just chosen to do so after that incident. In real life he would have been out of the race anyway, so I guess that's a realistic approach to it, I suppose. Probably quite frustrated after that impact. So keeping an eye on the things at the front. It is opening up again, so it keeps on getting closer, then opening up once more. There is a really nice battle developing here though between Aidan Carter and Ben Crisp. So Aidan Carter lapping quite faster than Ben there. Ben losing the rear end there, which is going to give Aidan a hell of a run on the start-finish straight and potentially an opportunity going into turn 1. Looking up the inside, Ben stays on the outside, brakes nice and early, and Aidan up now into P7. Next time, although Ben does a bit of a come around, gets a good exit, going to have a hell of a run around the outside if he wants to get around the outside of Aidan. Can't get it done. So just saying that, Aidan runs a little bit wide, and now Ben Chris having another look. Oh, just when you think Ben's out of this battle, he comes right back in it again, looking up the inside, running a little bit wide, coming through the main initial part of the hairpin there was Aidan, but a really nice exit from the hairpin, which should give Aidan a little bit of breathing room. Gareth Boyle is in the pit lane, not too sure why, don't know if that's a penalty. Or if he's deciding to put some different tyres on, maybe destroyed their tyres in the previous incidents. Not too sure there, we'll find out for you at the end of the race. So Stuart Pringle still leads by 7 seconds, has a 7-second gap to P2. Ben Bennyworth still P2, holding off Lewis Manley and Chris Wilson behind. Oh, and look at this, that's a mistake there from Ben Bennyworth, but Chris gets very sideways, trying to make the most of it. So looking around the outside, which is also going to push Chris back into Lewis as well. Just when you think something's about to open up and that someone's going to get P2, someone else is in the money for it, and Lewis Manley looking at the outside now for Chris. Definitely alongside. That's going to be a hell of a move around the outside. Holding him wide. I feel like Chris is entitled to that inside. Lewis decides to hold the car there. Now Lewis tries to get the inside for the hairpin, but can't get it done. Loses a little bit of time there, so switches to the outside. Now can Lewis get the overrun coming out of the hairpin into the chicane? I don't think he will, although it is a hell of a run that Lewis has managed to get there. Really nice driving from Lewis to really start to put pressure on Chris Wilson. And vice versa, Chris Wilson putting the pressure on Ben Bennyworth once again. It's evident flowing all over the place, and Manley is definitely looking very comfortable, but does run a little bit wide there. Instant commentator's curse there. Sorry in advance. Sorry for that one, Lewis. as we now keep watch of Chris starting to put the pressure back on Ben Bennyworth. I'd like to apologise if you can hear random screaming in the background. We are above and part of the same building as a Laser Quest building, which means that sometimes you hear the very excited customers screaming. Just coming on to lap number 12, Chris Wilson is as close as he's ever been to Ben Bennyworth now, and it looks like if he's going to get this move done, he's going to have to get it done now. Lewis has dropped off a little bit, so Chris definitely in a good prime position here to get this P2. Although saying that, that's a hell of a run through Sector 1 there for Lewis, who's brought the gap right back down again. Now, feels like Lewis and Chris need to work with each other here a little bit. As I said in the previous race, you keep battling each other and taking time away from each other, you're just going to ruin each other's race. You're just going to stop your own charge. As Chris looking now right up the inside here, coming into the chicane, definitely his best chance of the race. He's going to outbrake. That'd be a hell of a move from there. Switches to the outside. That's very risky. I don't think that's going to work. He's going to have to try and get a nice run through the chicane. What can Chris do on the exit? It looks more like Lewis has the momentum there, but can't do anything with it. Definitely running a little bit wide again there for Lewis Manley on the exit there. Coming into the third sector of the circuit, the high-speed sector. We've got the high-speed left here as we go into Druids, a very high-speed right-hander. We build the power throughout as we line up into the final corner. Now, this is where Chris has looked quite strong on the previous lap. Can he do anything this time around? A little bit too far back, so we'll see if he can do anything as Ben Bennyworth very squirrely through the corner itself, running very wide. That's going to give Chris a run on the start-finish straight as we go over and across the start-finish line, going into turn number 1 now. Up the inside for Chris Wilson. Can't get it done. Bennyworth shuts the door. Very clean, very good racing from the two of them. And Manley's going to now try and get the position from Wilson after Wilson loses a little bit of time there through turn 1. So it all reverses once again. And Manley's going to get in the slipstream here, going to try and follow Chris as long as he can. He's going to pull out to the outside. Chris covers the outside quite nicely there. So Lewis is going to have to try and get a nice cut back here. Up the inside, going into the chicane. Nicely done, but doesn't get a great exit from the corner. Still could have a chance coming into the chicane, but he is quite a bit far behind. It's this part of the track where Lewis tends to gain on the two cars in front of him. Carries a lot more speed through the chicane, as you can see there, visibly pulling closer to the Vauxhall Astra in front. Getting a really nice run there. Holding the car behind, looking at the outside, having a look, having a think about it. If Lewis Manley pulls this move off, that would be a hell of a move. One of the moves of the whole day. Looking around the outside now. Chris holding that car right where he needs to keep that position. But Ben Bennyworth is now running away from Chris Wilson and Lewis Manley. So maybe, again, they just need to work together, get themselves both towards Ben Bennyworth. Because if you keep battling like this, chaps, Ben Bennyworth's going to get away, and look at this, they're going to switch back there from Manley up the inside. Chris will have to give the room up the inside for Manley, but he can't get it done. He had a hell of a run there. Nothing he could do with it, but Chris runs very wide there, and that is Lewis Manley now into P3. Really good move, put the pressure on, got the job done. Now, can Manley, with just 2 laps to go, get up to Ben Bennyworth and get past Ben Bennyworth? I think that gap might just be a little bit too big, but we'll see if he can do it. He's going to really have to push hard as Stuart is putting in personal best times in front. So really good race for Stuart Pringle. Really calm, sensible pace. 126s, 125s, brilliant driving, it must be said, to pull out a near 10-second gap to Ben Bennyworth in P2. Manley now, it looks like he's now on the defending side of Chris, so it's all flipped around once again. Is P3 settled? I don't think it is right now, because it could be anyone's game. Ben Bennyworth looks a little safe now in P2 though. He's got a 1.77 second gap to these two. These two now just want to battle for this P3 position. I think they've both given up on P2. That gap definitely far too large now to make any sort of difference. But we keep an eye on this grouping, as also Aidan Carter is also catching John Dean Smith at a very fast rate of knots as we come on to the final lap. Stuart Pringle starting the final lap of the race with a 10.3 second lead. Brilliant driving management from Stuart Pringle here in this round. Very mature drive, it must be said, for Stuart. So just keeping an eye on these to make sure they don't change, but we will cut across to Stuart Pringle as it is getting quite dicey again between these two, just as I change the camera. Thanks lads for that. But yes, so I just wanted to cut to Stuart Pringle to basically congratulate him on the drive he's had today. Just really, really good, strong drive, very consistent. This is the Stuart Pringle that we've been teased with earlier in the year with some very, very strong performances. I do feel that this race win is a little bit late, later than I thought it would come anyway. But yes, to get this race victory and to cement it with a 10-second lead to Ben Bennyworth, you've got to be doing something right there. As he comes into the final corner now, final lap of the race, all you need to do is get it across the line now, Stuart. So great job, down the dip, up the hill, and across the line to take the checkered flag of race number 3. It is Stuart Pringle, our race 3 winner today. Great drive, Stuart. Ben Bennyworth takes P2. Lewis Manley takes P3. Chris Wilson will take P4, which means we now turn our attention to John Dean Smith and Aidan Carter. That looks like it's settled itself with John Dean Smith. Aidan looks like he's made a bit of a mistake there. Keeps P6 just there from Ben Crisp. Dan McCalla will come home in P8. Great drive from Dan. P9 for Charlie Keir. P10 for Josh Vincent. And P11, last of the finishers for Dale Crisp. Oh, whoa, Josh Vincent goes off, and that's P10 now for Dale Crisp. Commentator's curse, there you go. So Dale Crisp steals P10 on the final lap, just before the final corner, but then runs very sideways himself coming through the final corner. Will he get across the line in time? He's coming across, and he might even get Charlie Keir if he's very... no, just misses out. But there we go, P10 for Dale and P11 for Josh. But once again, massive plaudits for our race 3 winner, Stuart Pringle. Brilliant drive. Not much more you could ask for, really. Absolutely fantastic result from Stuart there. So, here are your race results. Should be appearing on your screen anytime now. No, unfortunately not. Okay, let's let it go. No, doesn't want to appear. Ah, there we go. Apologies for that. So, yep, the stream has been full of glitches today. That's just one of them. Okay, lovely. So we have our race 3 results. This is pending penalties, obviously. There could be some penalties. There could be some positions that change. We will keep you updated on that. But yes, well done to Stuart Pringle, Ben Bennyworth, Lewis Manley for getting our top 3 in race number 3. Chris Wilson, P4. John Dean Smith, P5. Aidan Carter, P6. Ben Crisp, P7. Dan McCalla, P8. Charlie Keir, P9. And Dale Crisp in P10. Wow, that was... very exciting 2 races there that we got to see. Unfortunately, we didn't see race 1. I will inform you that it wasn't that exciting, so you didn't miss much. But race 2 and 3 definitely made up for how processional race number 1 was. But thank you very, very much for tuning in with us today. We may get some interviews if we've got some time, but great job by all the team here at Simply Race as well. Great job by our stewards. And if we are going to leave you, I will say farewell. If not, we may be back in just a few moments with some interviews. So congratulations to our race winners today. Well done, everybody.